Beaver. Oh, Mother Beaver. Oh, Mother Beaver.
At the Alachua County Facilities Management Building in Gainesville, Florida, at 913 Southwest 5th Street.
Track that is 915.
915. The chair stands corrected.
Okay.
And I'm speaking today with Mr. Joseph S. Dell. Mr. Dell, thank you very much for doing the interview today. We appreciate it so much. This is part of our African American history preservation in Alachua County, and you are one of our early interviews, so we really appreciate this opportunity.
Thank you.
Would you please state and spell your full name?
Okay, my first name is Joseph, Joseph. The middle initials stand for Samuels, Samuel. And then our last name is Dell, Dell.
Okay, so Joseph and Samuel, good, strong Bible names.
Biblical names.
Yes, sir. And Mr. Dell, what is your date of birth?
Okay, my date of birth is January the 16th, 1943.
And where were you born?
I was born in Lacrosse, Florida, which is, say, from Gainesville. It's about 18 miles north of Gainesville, Florida.
Mm-hmm. And you're in your current position. Would you please describe what it is that you do and how long you've been doing it?
Okay, my current position is I'm a facility supervisor. I oversee many county buildings, for minor maintenance and lawn maintenance. Whatever task may be, I'm there for them. Maybe even oversee the fairgrounds. And occasionally I have to go to Alachua County Correction or Sheriff Department. We have many buildings scattered around the county. Mm-hmm. That's why I became a supervisor about 32 years ago. Before then, I was just a regular worker, In this position, it enables me, to move around and see different people of different hats, And I enjoy my job. My job is 42 years and 3 months. It's been a real uplifting to me. It enables me to get up every morning because I enjoy doing what I'm doing.
42 years and 3 months. So you started with Alachua County in
1967, March the 23rd. Mm-hmm. And I have missed some time, being ill or something, but other than that, I've been on the job ever since. I haven't missed too many days for sickness. I didn't miss some times, for misfortune, like family misfortunes, funerals or whatever, but since then I've been just coming to work. Mm-hmm. Time passed by so fast, really you can't keep up with time no more. It's been flying by with me. I enjoyed what I'm doing.
We before the interview, we talked a little bit about your family life.
Right.
You're the eldest.
Yeah, I'm the oldest son. My mother was her maiden name was Daisy Straughter, and she was born up in Matioka, Florida, which is from Gainesville. You go past the racetrack off of Waller Road. It's only about 8 to 10 miles, and she was, I think, about the third youngest of her sisters and brothers.
Could you spell her last name?
Last name is Straughter, Straughter. Yeah, some people spell it different, but that's the way she always told me to spell it. God bless the day. That's what she wanted me to realize, how to do the correct spelling of it. Mm-hmm. But I'm the oldest, and Joseph, and then we have my brother Willie, and my other brother John, and I have now John. He more like. He seemed to be my better behalf because he comes to me for help, all the time. I go to him for help. We pretty close. And Willie, he's deceased, but Willie was like I told you before, he was real close to me.
Growing
5 years of each other growing up in the neighborhood. We always close. My other sisters and brothers much younger. I didn't spend that much time with them till I got to be probably a grown man, and they would come to me for assistance, for help.
What are their names?
Okay, starting with my oldest sister, Rosetta. She was, had a misfortune in 1967, and she was killed. And then I have my next sister, Martha. She died in 1967, but she was real close to me. And then we have my next sister, Felicia. She lives in Tallahassee. And she also attended school at Florida A&M. I envied her because she wanted to continue her education like my daughter, and I always encouraged them to go on to school, because education is the only answer you have these days. But I enjoy my sisters and brothers. Then I have some more sisters and brothers. I haven't mentioned their name yet, which is still living. I have Walter Booth. He's a deacon at Church of God by Faith in Manioka. Then I have my other brothers, Jeremiah Dickerson. Then I have Davis Dickerson. He's still my younger sister is Pearl Dickerson. They're all living still. I have Martha. I mentioned her name, and Rosetta. They're dead. And I have Willie and Isaiah Booth. He's dead. Both all those are deceased.
Now, you mentioned growing up, you didn't really know your father as well.
No, I didn't. I met my father. I got right at 10 years old when I met. His name is Leroy Dell. His home was in Starks, and he grew up in Tampa later years. He was only 19 years old when he left home. About like I was traveling, he would travel back and forth. His uncle, Uncle Elliot, I think, helped raise him. He did a very good job because he enthused me to keep on going to school. He wouldn't let me go out and do construction work. He was a construction worker. He did a lot of that, his time until he died. He died in 1981 in Tampa. And I envied him for his job he did and what he did to help me in high school. He encouraged me to stay in school, which I did. I completed my high school in 1960. Down the vocational school in Tampa, Don Thompson Vocational School, and also attended Lincoln High School for many years here in Gainesville.
When A. Quinn Jones was the principal.
The principal, yeah, Mr. A. Quinn Jones was our principal back then. But I envied Mr. Jones because he always encouraged me to stay in school. Don't go out and leg out in the neighborhood and get in trouble. I want to go to prison. Keep you getting out of prison. I want you to go to school. He encouraged me, and I always look at different people in walks of life now. I have many out there in the county jail, and I tell them, I say, son, y'all need to stay out of this place. It's no good for you, because I visit the jail about much as they does, and because that's part of one of my work sites, And I was also too. I worked in the county jail for about 12 years out there. I got to meet different people, different staff, and it kind of enabled me, to see the different parts of life, by working there, what people go through being in prison, in jail, and they leave there, they better themselves. And I'm 100% with people, someone trying to better themselves. And that's why I look forward each day. I get up, I say, dear Lord, help me to make this day, because I want to make a better person, each day. And I pray on that each time I get up in the morning. I know my mother always said, son, you remember you didn't wake up this morning yourself. Dear Jesus woke you up this morning. I said, yes, ma'am. I got to kind of remember what she told me. And I enjoy, what my mother was my background, because she always come to me and encourage me. And she, my grandmother, Miss Pearl McLean, that was my grandmother.
On your mother's side?
On my mother's side.
Where was she from?
She was from a little place up around Georgia. She didn't stay there too long. She came to Florida, and that's where she settled at in Hope Sound, Florida. But she died there in 1952.
How about your grandfather, your mother's father?
Well, my grandfather lived up in Lake Cross. He died when I was a little child. I can't remember my age, but my mother told me about him, and Mr. James Straughter. That was her father, my grandfather.
Now, how about on your dad's side, his mother and father?
No, I didn't get to know them that well because I only met my dad when I was 10 years old. See.
Now, what about Mr. John Booth? You mentioned him.
Yeah, Mr. John Booth. Now, I visited his home in Bessemer, Alabama. And he had two sisters, Miss Marston and Miss Francis. They lived at that time because, see, traveling back, and then I was a little boy. I didn't get to travel too much to Alabama because, see, he was ridden with a stroke. And he was down for about maybe 7 years. He had a stroke.
But he played an important part of your life.
Part of my life growing up, because I really didn't know my true father until I was 10 years old. And I thank him today, to be where I'm at. He helped me stay in school too. He supported me my time. And people like I'm working with today, my co-workers, all the county staff, Mr. LeVon Frazier, tax collector, different people in my life, and they have enthused me to do what I'm doing today, to keep on doing. They encourage me, say, no, it's not time for you to retire, Joe. You want to continue to work, continue to work. You say that you don't have to retire. You tell you your health is good, you're doing good, stay and work. They always encourage my wife. She said, well, go on and work. She tells me each day. Now, she works at Shands on Archie Road.
Now, what is her name?
Her name is Dora White Dell, because she was a white, a maiden name before I married her. Her relatives are from out in Manioka also.
What's her birthday?
Her birthday would be April 10th, 1951.
And how did you all meet?
I met her, and I was a DJ playing music at the recreation department here in Gainesville. And she came up to me, and she wanted a particular record for me to play for her. And I would play the record, and she loved that record so much, and I would let the record run out, and if she wanted me to play it, I said, no, somebody else would like to have another record, but she grew to like me, just for music, She liked to dance to the music. I played probably for about 200 or 300 people on a Saturday night, and I became familiar with the recreation department. From then on, I said, I'm gonna do this on air. I went to doing it on air, and I also University of Florida. They had a training station, and so I worked for them. Soul 88. And I did programming for them for about 8 years. I worked for them. I started back in 1980 working for them, and then I worked a couple of years with Soul 88. And I went to WONE with Mr. Wayne Fields and Ronnie Long, Commissioner Long, and they encouraged me to say, hey, Joe, we got this program. I said, you don't like to do all this pop music and all that, but I did like jazz. I told him, I said, but my favorite is gospel music. And I said, but you can go ahead and sign me up for doing gospel programming on Sunday morning. I did gospel programming from 9 o'clock to about 10. Sometimes I get up and go to church. Then they put a tape on. I didn't like that tape. I was home one Sunday listening to it. I said, no, I'm going to have to do it and do it live. I did it live from 6 to about 12, give them 12 hours, and I would go to church. And I did that for 7 years until they went off the air. And I think they ran out of money. I don't know what the problem was. Mr. Fields said he could no longer do that after 1989. I didn't have a job no more as a DJ, but I enjoyed that. I still have that in my blood to do it again, after I retire. That's part of my hobby. I love music. I love music, period, as long as it's good music.
Do you play any instruments?
No, I don't.
So you just,
No, I did like to play the band, in the band when I was at Lincoln High School. But my favorite sports was baseball. I played baseball. And when I went to Tampa, I got a chance to play more because there was a team at Plant Field in Tampa, and I got to meet Jackie Robinson, Don Newcomb, and all the famous baseball players. I got to meet them during the spring training. I got to see them with the Cincinnati Reds, and they was there with the Dodgers. I got a chance to meet them several years before I even got to know who Jackie Robinson, Don Newcomb, Joe Black, and them all. I didn't even know who they were. And it didn't dawn on me being a kid, 15, 16 years old. And that was enjoyment for me to just and watch them practice baseball, playing baseball. And I got to learn to play baseball watching them. And I grew up playing baseball in high school for a couple of years, my junior and senior year. And I lettered in baseball. I got a letter in that. And football, I was too small to really play football, and they tried me playing football. And I seen people all broken bones and getting hurt. I said, no, I ain't like that. I told the coach, he said, well, you continue to play baseball. And that was my favorite sport. I still love baseball. I watch games on TV now.
What's your favorite team?
Right now, I'm leaning to the Dodgers.
Okay.
Yeah, LA Dodgers. And also the Atlanta Braves. Doing my uncle, now Willie Jenkins, he's from Arredondo. Now we sit and watch the Atlanta Braves when he was living. He died about 10 years ago. And I got, enjoy my sports by watching him, sitting, talking to him. He was an Army veteran. And he was out like I was in the Navy. I got to I got to learn radio in the Navy, because I was a radio operator. And that's why I really got to be fond of doing radio, because that was part of my life too. After I came out of the Navy, I said, I'm going to put it to work, and I didn't think I'd never have to use it though, but I did, Every time I listen to a news commentator, and I stop and listen, and watch them, just like in your job, that's great. And I appreciate what y'all doing in journalism. I said, I wish I would have had the money and time to go into college to be in journalism, that helped me a whole lot in my job I'm doing now. But I didn't care about how I wanted to work, Working with hands, I guess that got to be part of me, being so long with the county. But I really appreciate the people around me, and I always think positive, have a positive attitude. I see somebody say something negative, I say, no, you shouldn't say that. Not because I'm so religious, but I know they out of term, they're just saying the wrong thing, You want to try to correct people when they're wrong, You want to be a leader, you got to correct people, lead them the right way, And I always enjoy people, period.
What's your definition of leadership? What is it that makes a leader?
What makes a leader? I believe you have to be a leader, to lead other people. You got to be a good person yourself within you. If you want to lead others, you got to, have respect for them, and that they want to have them to respect you. I believe people in the status, you can't downgrade a person because of his or her position, or her position, your position. You welcome their position, what they're doing. And you're just a good leader, to me, to my looking at the leadership. You got to lead others. You got to tell them, if they're doing something wrong, correct them. They can understand why they did it wrong. They go ask you, well, I don't understand, Mr. Joe, why that. I said, well, let's sit down, we'll talk about it. And I put them over to the side one by one. And that's why I became a supervisor for 32 years. I never have a falling out with none of my people. I always stress what they're doing wrong. If you made a mistake, I say, no, let's correct this. And don't feel bad about it. I made it, but you're not perfect. Everybody make mistakes. And I've been doing it so long, it's just part of me, That's what I think leadership is, And people in your caliber, everybody caliber, they have their own way of doing things. And you're a leader too, with what you're doing. Everybody's a leader, If you want to lead people, you want to do it right, and be positive about it. That's what I think about it.
Well, now you've mentioned your mother. You talked about meeting Jackie Robinson,
right?
Which is, and
right.
Ron Newcomb. You talked about
right.
Quinn Jones.
Right.
Who are some people that you've looked at in your life as leaders? And why did you look at?
Well, I looked after at high school. I looked after Mr. Quinn Jones. Like I told you, he always instilled in me about staying in school, staying out of prison. I don't want to see you in prison. I had to come in and tell your parents you went to jail because of some stupid act you did. And I look at Mr. Robinson, his time growing up, how he came and we integrated baseball. The first black to play baseball. And I got that from him, and that's what made why I love baseball today.
He inspired you?
He inspired me, yes, sir. He sure did. He still inspired me, I don't care what color, I don't go by color. I like Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Mickey Mantle, they're good players, And I don't look down on the steroid stuff like they're doing now. And what they made a mistake, I'm nobody perfect, But they still was good sportsmanship. They played the game, That's what I look at. They're true leaders to me. That's where Mr. Jones was to me, and Jackie Robinson too. And I just enthuse them to have good people around me, That motivate me. What I'm saying each day, that motivate me, Because I'm a positive thinking person. Now, if I was on the other side, I wouldn't think like that, I guess. But I enjoy people, period.
Now, you and your wife, you have children?
Yes.
Can we talk about them for a little bit?
Yeah. Well, my wife, I've been married, and I can tell you I've been married 39 years to Ms. Dora M. White Dell. And we have 3 children. A son named is Joseph Dell Jr. Then my oldest daughter is Denise Dell, and Cassandra is my youngest daughter. And she attended Santa Fe Community College. I encouraged her to stay in school. And now Brian, my grandson, now he's my favorite. I'm not gonna take nothing away from Roselle, from my children, you know, because Brian, he always come, Grandpa, Grandpa. If he want $1, he want to ride the bus, I help Brian because I want him to stay in school.
Now, which one of your children is he the child of? Brian.
Who's that?
Brian's your grandson?
He's my grandson.
Now, which one of your children?
Oh, that's Denise's son. Denise,
son.
yeah,
Okay.
Denise. Yeah, that's Denise's son, my oldest daughter's son.
Okay.
But he's been living in my household for 21 years. He's 21 years old. He was born there. And so that's why he's always comfortable. He come to grandfather. He can move from here to Italy or anywhere, Europe. He come back to grandfather. He went to San Diego, California. He came right back to grandpa. He said, no, I don't like California, Grandpa. I want to come home. I said, well, you know how to come home. I sent him a train ticket, and he came on back home. And he said, well, I'm going to want to stay here. I said, there's your room. Go to your room. That's your room.
Is he your only grand?
No, I have another granddaughter, Monique Wilson. She's a junior in high school. She's working president, you know, at a fast food restaurant. Then I have deceased granddaughter, Tayana Dell. They had a misfortune in 2001. That's the little girl I was telling you about. We found dead. But that was one of my favorite too. She's my heart. It gives tears to my eyes, you know, to think about her. She was a sweet little girl. I guess dear Jesus loved her more than I did, but she's with God's angels.
Great-grands? Do you have any of them?
No, I don't have no great-grand. No, I sure don't. But, you know, I look back on my time, you know, growing up, because I grew up in southeast Gainesville here, and where I'm living now, I live in northeast Gainesville, and there's a supermarket, a super center, Walmart super center.
New Walmart?
Yeah, new Walmart. I live in that area. And I've been living there for 36 years. There I have my own home. And I just look forward, you know, each day, like I say, I want to do better and better, to better myself. I can think of something to better myself, and I sit down and think about it and try and do it.
Before I would like to talk to you about your career in the Navy, because I think that's a good place to start, but I wanted to back up just a little bit on your education.
Right.
You talked about going to school in Tampa.
Right.
And going to Lincoln.
Right.
What are your earliest memories of education? Where did you get your elementary school?
Oh, I didn't tell you that. I remember attending William Elementary School.
Here in Gainesville?
Yeah, in Gainesville, just down the street from here. I attended school there up to 6th grade. You know, you go from you went to school. The classes were from 1 through 6, and you course we did have divided classrooms back then.
Boys
some
and some, girls and others?
You know, no, we had divided classrooms. I'm saying we had some in the 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd grade. Then I went on and finished school at William at the 6th grade, and I went to Lincoln. I was about the 7th grader, and I just stayed there about a couple of years. About the 9th grade, I left and went to Tampa. I went to vocational school. I attended that. What enthused me to go in the Navy, because the Navy recruiter would come by during my junior and senior year, and he would talk to us and ask us, you know, who want to be a part of the military? I said, oh, no, I didn't want to do that, because of the draft. I was a part of the draft back in Local Board 32. And I said, oh, no, they're going to call me in the Army or something. I said, I don't want to go in the Army. I said, I went on and volunteered for the Navy. That's what enthused me to go in service at that time. And so I probably should have went on to college, but I got a little bit of military background. I wasn't enthused about staying in the Navy. That's why I only stayed in there for about 4 years.
When you got started in the Navy, did you have a career in mind, or did you just...
Yeah, I did. I wanted to be a PE teacher. I sure did, because I liked sports so well. I sure did. During my high school day, I wanted to be a PE teacher.
Was there a coach or a PE teacher that inspired you?
Yeah, I sure did. He's dead right now. Mr. T.V. McPherson. The recreation center was named after him. See, he was our coach at Lincoln High School. And he was one of my enthused persons, you know. So I just envied the man, because the man, he was real strict. And I don't care if it's football or baseball, he wants you to play it his way. There was no way but his way, and I learned to do that.
Were you all successful on the field? Did you have a good record?
I had a good record. I sure did. Yeah, I had a very good record. I didn't have no problem. I could play sports real well.
Now, I didn't ask you about your elementary school. Do you remember the principal of Williams when you went to school?
Yeah, that was Mr. Gaskin Cooks. Miss Gaston Cooks was our principal. His wife also taught school there. Miss Cooks, she was a first grade teacher. But I remember him back then. And I think my third grade teacher, she was real good too, because she would always enthuse me. See, she would always call me by my stepfather named Booth, and she said, Booth, I want you to go get some coal, because back then we were using coal burning, as a heater. And I always get coal in the morning for her. They said, go get me some coal for my heater. And I kept coal in that bin every morning for her. And then everybody else would take turns. They'd rotate, bringing coal into the third grade classroom. And I did that for her. Now she's dead. She's been dead now. I don't know how many years she's been dead. And she was a real sweet person too. My third grade teacher. I had them all throughout my elementary school. I never had a problem with my teachers. I got along with all my teachers and the principal. I would help the principal sometime. Ice cream truck would come in. I help unload the truck, and I put the ice cream in the freezer. Go out and do things like that. And even in the classroom, I clean up the blackboard, be full of all dirty, done marked all the board up. I clean it up, and clean up the floor, And he said, well, it's good, Joe, good, Joseph. Call me Joseph. He said, he looks good.
Was school kind of like an extended part of your family?
It was.
So
the same with my job.
People who inspired you?
Yes, right. That's the way my job is to me. All these co-workers here, my people here in the county, they inspire me. You don't have to retire, Mr. Joe. Just go and work. I say, you're doing good. I said, call you Mr. Frazier. He said, I wouldn't leave. And Mr. Jackson, my supervisor, he said, now, Joe, what you think about staying on working? He said, I might not work for 3 more years. I said, oh, Mr. Jackson, you're young, man, but 47 years old. You'll be here for a long time. I can't work 42 years. I said, well, you don't have to work 42 years. Just work. You never know. I didn't know I would be here working this long. But I enjoy people, I enjoy being around people. My wife often talks because she likes a lot of movies. She tapes a lot of movies at home. We sit down and talk, because I don't record all my movies. Like all my sports, enthusiasts, I never record that, but she'll record everything. She's at work, she works at night at Shands, and she would do the set recorder. And I said, don't y'all touch that recorder. Your grandmother will get you about bothering that recorder, and don't touch it. And she come back, so you've been bothering my movie, it's not working. I said, uh-oh, Joe don't change. That's my son, Joe. He done changed the channel.
He messed up.
He messed up. She let him know that too. Mm-hmm. Now, I tell you about my son now. He had a misfortune 2 years ago. He had a stroke. He used to work for UF. He worked at the Performing Art building there on campus. And he had a brain stroke. But he's disabled at this time. I look after him. That's what I spend my time when I go home, taking care of him. And that's part of my chore too. When I go home, I take him places. He don't drive anymore, but he's beginning to learn. But go take him a little while. But that's part of my life, taking care of my family. I'm a family man, because I don't. I grew up not being in the streets, not being a street person. Now back during the time, what enthused me too, you asked about who my enthusiast, Mr. Akron Jones. Back in the time, the school wasn't integrated. He was desegregated schools, and he enthused me about, going on to school, no matter what color you are, go to school. And he said, don't look like that, don't look down on people because of the color of their skin. That's one thing I like about myself. I don't care what color you are, I appreciate you. I do. I appreciate everybody.
You grew up in some interesting times, Mr. Dell.
Yes, sir.
Think about 1960. You going into the Navy and being there for 4 years, you said.
Right.
Well, 1960 is when they started with the integration of the lunch counters and things.
Right.
It started in February 1960 in North Carolina. Was that something that you had great knowledge of in the Navy, or were you aware of what was going on?
No, I did not. It didn't even bother me because I wasn't aware of it really, because at my time, you want to go in the Navy and get out. I didn't want to re-enlist. So I just stayed away from that part. I seen all that happen around me, and I admired Dr. King, what he did for everybody, you know, for every mankind, and I appreciate that. And, you know, I just, there wasn't aware probably of what was going on because I was trying to look at Joe, what Joe wanted to do in life, you know. And I appreciate people, like I say, you know. I had good people in the Navy, good people after I came out of the Navy. That's what made me be what the person I am today. I always try to be around good people. Sometimes it's hard, you know, but you got to kind of treasure your people, you know, who you would be around, would be with the bad crowd, in other words, what I'm saying.
You are who your friends are.
Right, that's right.
So you were in the service when President Kennedy was killed.
Right, that's right.
Do you remember what you were doing when you found out about that in November of 1963?
Yeah, I had just came back on a ship from Pensacola, Florida, and I was shipped from Great Lakes, Illinois, and I was stationed in Pensacola, and they sent me. So I took my basic training in Great Lakes, Illinois. It was real cold, and I came home at that time, and I heard about President Kennedy, and I tell you, it was a sad day. Sure was a real sad day. Even during the time when Robert was killed to his brother.
In 1968.
68, that's right.
June 68. Now, so between 1964 and you got out of the Navy, and I do want to find out your reflection on Robert Kennedy, but I'm just curious on the time in between.
He was Attorney General.
So what was going on between 1964 and 1968 in your life?
In my life?
Yes, sir.
In my life, I was trying to get myself together to find a job. After I came out of the Navy, after I was discharged. So I was discharged July the 12th, 1964. Okay. See, just before the Vietnam, I wasn't even involved in the Vietnam War, which that was a blessing to me, you know, because I know some of my schoolmates and some of my friends, you know, they was inducted in the Navy and in service, different branches of service. They was telling me, you know, about like Charles Gordon from Hawthorne. He went in the Army and he was killed in the Army, you know, at that time he was in the Army. And his word came back, he was killed. And I was just getting to work at the courthouse at the time. He would come by and stop and talk to me all the time. I said, no, not Charles Gordon, I know. I remember him from there because I remember the Gordons up in Hawthorne. That's his home up there. That was his home. I said, no, I can't believe that's Charles. I got to know his brother, Eddie Gordon. I think he worked at UF for many years, you know. But I got no different people, you know, during my time in the Navy and after my time afterwards. Because we would sit down and talk about things, you know. That it's a small world, you know. You've been in service, you come back home, you still see your people and some of the people that you met when you was in service, even in the high school days. And you know, some of your schoolmates, classmates, well, they haven't passed on. And I said, well, if God spared me to live, you know, I'm still around, you know. And you know, it kind of sad, you know, they done passed on. But I've been, you know, real blessed, you know, to have good people around me.
What was Alachua County like in the middle 1960s?
Oh, Alachua County, it was still, you know, growing. You know, I've seen it come from nothing. Because it seemed like a little farm town still.
Well, you mentioned you lived on a farm out near where
I live out past Oaks Mall. Yeah, past Oaks Mall. You know, I-75.
Yes, sir.
Newberry, off of Newberry Road.
Going
little place called Jonesville. Rutledge was a little settlement. Rutledge settlement.
Was that before Jonesville or after Jonesville?
No, that was go past Jonesville.
Between Jonesville and
Newberry. Yes, sir.
Rutledge.
Rutledge. Okay. That was one of my stepfather's home out there too. He grew up on a dairy farm out there too.
What was his name?
Mr. Booth. Yeah, John Booth. Yeah, John Booth. Yeah, he grew up out there too.
So what was Rutledge like in the 60s?
Well, 60s, just a little settlement, a little small place, a farm. They did a lot of farming. Because my mother, she practically did a lot of farming back then. My grandmother too, they were raised on a farm.
So the family was self-sufficient.
Self-sufficient on what
so you didn't go to the convenience store.
No.
The Publix.
All the vegetables came from the farm. All your milk came from the farm. You want a watermelon, you go out there and get your watermelon. Corn, peas, okra, tomatoes. You know, it came from your farm. You know, nowadays it's cost so much. The cost of living is ridiculous. See, we had everything there on the farm.
My brother teaches in Chicago, and he likes to bring education to the classroom about where your food comes from. And he was talking to the kids in the class one day, and he said, "Can someone tell me where corn comes from?"
Oh, okay.
And a little boy raised his hand, so he said, "Yeah, go ahead and give me the answer." He said, "That comes from the stove, Mr. Weston."
Well, you got where it came from before it got to the stove. So you got to remember that.
What can we do to make sure that kids understand the difference in how you grew up,
Right.
and how food was produced, and how they grew up now? Do you think that's something they should be more aware of?
They should. I'm pretty sure they should. But some of them, they think the way they want to think. You try to correct them and say, "Oh no, Mr. Joe, it's not like that." I say, "Well, son, sit down. Let me talk to you. Let me tell you what about the birds and the bees and whatever." And they stop and listen. You had to school them. They don't know. Because in their era, in their time, my time is a whole different world. And I respect them for that. I respect people for what they are, Because you can't compare them from the time I was back in my time, in this era, where I'm at today, where they are today.
Do you try to talk to kids today about how things were and how
I talked to some of them, and some of them will listen to me and say, "Oh, Mr. Joe, you from the old school?" And I say, "Well, that's good to be from the old school." I say, "But son, you live in a different time." I say, then you live and you go see it. That's the way I tell them. Because my life is not your life. I tell them that. But I want you to do good. I tell them all, I want you to do good, no matter what. And I enthuse them and encourage them to do that.
Why aren't kids getting the encouragement that they need today?
Well, it's partly sometime the home bringing up, the parents not teaching me right thing at home. I was brought up at home, in the church, and I learned from my parents, grandparents, and my parents at home. And they don't have that nowadays. Some of them have it, some of them don't. Some of them don't even attend the church or school. They don't even go to school no more.
Do you have a home church?
Yes, I do.
And
Spring Hill Baptist Church.
Spring Hill, okay. And how long have you been?
I've been associated with Spring Hill ever since I can remember as a little boy. I was living on Spring Hill going to Williams School back in 1958. I can remember going to Spring Hill. Now, my earlier days, my mom would work and she would be traveling a lot, And I grew up with my grandmother also in the Baptist church in Hope Sound, I told you, because she was a missionary worker. She helped me a whole lot staying in church, And I grew up in going to Bible school, going to Sunday school, because she was a believer. When you go to Sunday school and don't leave this church, they say you're still going to have church services. That don't mean for you to go out there and play ball.
Not done yet.
No, you're not done yet. And so I don't care if it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. After Sunday school, you're going to stay in church services. Services start, she wants you to be there. And she go looking for you, get up off that bench. But we grew up in a different time, and the kids are lots different now. You can't compare, today's children from during my past and my time. But you can encourage them though. What you knew back then. Some of them are really enthused about what happened back then, but they just don't understand the history. That's why I'm looking for the history of it.
So important. Yeah. Spring Hill held an activity last Friday a week ago on Juneteenth. I know Mr. Von Fraser was there.
Right.
Debbie Boyd went there as a representative. Is that something that's missing with students?
Yes, it is.
From when you went to school,
yes,
they don't know about the history?
No, they don't. They don't. On time, you probably remember, like you're in the neighborhood, like they have these events, these programs, which is good because, see, I'm going to tell you, where you work, and where you work, that's very good, what you're doing. You're bringing it to us. I appreciate this, too, because a lot of people don't do this, And you're really encouraging people in your job, professional manner, and I think you're doing an excellent job of what you're doing, because you're bringing this to us, and we haven't had this in my time when I was growing up. And we need more of it, throughout the Alachua County, throughout the city of Gainesville. You ever go out of town? I know you do, different cities.
Yes, sir.
I see that's encouragement to different people in different walks of life. Because I included in my gospel program different walks of life, different people. I said you're going to have different faiths. And I always have that little slogan in my gospel program. And I would still believe that, And that's what you live by, everybody not gonna be like Joe. You gotta be like Martha or whoever, you know. You just let them be themselves. But you can encourage them to do better, do good.
A couple of leadership questions to ask
Yes,
you.
sir.
We talked about Robert Kennedy, so Michael
Yes,
talked
sir.
about 1968.
Right.
In April, Dr. King is killed.
Right.
And then in June, Robert Kennedy is killed.
Right.
What were those times like, and how did that impact you?
Oh, it impacted me bad because I didn't like what happened, you know. It really threw me hard. It was hard, very, very hard for me to get along back during that time. Because living in that era, you know, I just beginning to have a good job. Family, I was trying to get my family together. Just got married in 1968, and November 1st, 1968, I first got married. And he was trying to make it in life, you know, as a married man. And he kind of compacted me a whole lot, you know. And I hate to see that happen to anyone, you know, somebody taking their life, you know, like that. I don't like to see that around me, people being murdered.
How did people react locally about it? Is there anything you remember about how people behaved?
Well, no, because they probably kept it quiet. They didn't really talk about it, but they was enthused about, you know, what happened. And, you know, because I know in the job, they didn't talk about it too much. But you know, that was a bad time. Bad time. Excuse me.
Oh, no problem.
Could you?
Okay. Well, we talked a little bit about the past, and we talked a little bit about the present. Maybe.
Right. Right.
Barack Obama was just elected as president of the United States in November, but he took office in January 2009.
Right.
What are your reflections upon the election of Barack Obama?
Well, I was proud to see the first black man become president. That was something in my time I never thought would happen, you know, because, you know, I wasn't downgrading nobody, but I'm glad to see him, you know, where he are today and where he came from. He was telling us, you know, about his past, you know, what he did to get where he's at is today. But in my time, I never think a black man would become president, but I'm proud of him. I am. I'd like to see him further his now as a leader. I'd like him to further his time in office, you know, maybe he can do more. I think he's doing what he can with what he had to work with, because it's over his head. I know we're in a time, you know, a turmoil right now. Talking about a depression time. This is a depression time. The economics is hard for anybody trying to live a life of what we live going through now. And his cost of living is so high, and gasoline is high. Everything around you, it seems like the further you go, you're backing up. You're not going forward, you're backing up because you got such a burden over your head. You're trying to climb a mountain, but you climb that rope and slipping.
Do you think there's anything unique about living in this age of Barack Obama?
What I need?
Unique. Is there anything unique?
Oh yeah, it's very unique. I think it's very unique. But even President Clinton and the president, all the presidents, you know, what I admire them because they're leaders, you know, what they had to do for our country to carry this country on to where it is. Because you'll have wars. The Bible speaks of wars, and so you can't iron that out, you know.
Wars and rumors of wars.
And rumors of war, yeah, but you can't iron that out. I mean, he gonna be that, you know. I admire them for their leadership, you know. President Bush, you know, they had their own way of doing things, you know. Nobody's the same, but you got to remember this president, you know, they put him in office. You voted him in. They didn't get in there by themselves. So you got to remember the American people, all this was voted in by the people. And I admire them for their leadership. Now that's another thing leadership is good for too. You got to remember they have different leaders. Even during Abraham Lincoln time, you got to go way back, you know, remember the presidents, different people, you know, in leadership. Thomas Jefferson, you know, all them leaders, you know, we had. I just been through, you know, some history. I probably didn't study enough of it like I should have, but I just studied enough. I studied a lot about, you know, the government, American history and government history, and like, you know, what government is, how it works, you know. But I like to search and learn more about history in detail, and which is good. And your job, you see, that's what you're doing. You're out searching, talking to different people and different walks of life. Y'all doing an excellent job.
What do you think is the most significant change that's taken place since the time that you were a young man to the time where you are right now? What's the biggest change, most significant that's taken place?
Oh, my time, when I was growing up, we didn't hardly have a pair of shoes to wear, you know. I couldn't go to the shoe store and just buy a pair of shoes because we didn't have the money. Economic condition back then was bad because you weren't earning, your earning wasn't that much. And nowadays, it's so essential, there's so much there, you know. It's overwhelming. I mean, you don't have to worry about shoes and clothes. It's so plentiful. And people just give you shoes and clothes and food. And people back then, like you say, you had to then live on a farm. You wasn't farming to grow your vegetables and fruits, you know. You didn't have it, you know.
Couldn't take anything for granted.
No.
Dollar was a dollar.
Dollar. They were real strict with money back then. But now they're like just taking money, just throwing it out like it's water, pouring it out. I mean, they should be more conservative with money, you know. That's why I look at it. But I don't know what people think about when they get a pocket full of money. That's like you want to just blow it. They go to lotto, get a lotto ticket. You know, got $500, and they just go blow that $500. That's a blessing to get $500 or $200 or $300. Try and conserve it. Say we got to buy gas for transportation. Young man, he come out here today in his car. How could you drive that car without gas? You don't run off air, do it. And so that's what I tell my grandson. You don't own a car yet. And I said, well, son, when you do own a car, as you got to remember, your driver's license. That's right. That's right. You got to remember what it costs. But I think this time, my time, it's been a big change. But I'm glad to be around to see it. I'm highly blessed in this time. And by the time I grew up, 2009, yeah, you got to be, you know, it's got to be enthused about everything around you. In the time I grew up.
What about the changes here in Alachua County? What's been the most significant change you've seen in this area? You know, La Crosse, Gainesville, Hopkins.
Yeah, I've seen it grow so much. I've seen La Crosse grow up, and even you look at Jonesville, how it's growing. You know,
Just
West
in the
Gainesville.
last 10 years.
Yeah, 10 years. You know, it's a significant change in Jonesville. You just look around you, Gainesville. Itself, you know, Gainesville itself is growing in the county. You know, at my time, you've seen a lot of growth in Alachua County. And they were telling me about between the two counties, Alachua and Marion, which was the big. I told them my home, Alachua County. And they said, well, I accept that, Mr. Dell. You know your county. And I said, no, I don't know them that well, but I know the growth because I travel a lot. I like travel, you know.
Archer Road was a 2-lane road when I came here.
Thank you.
There was nothing on it.
That's right.
Now it's sitting all the way out and all the way back.
That's right. I'll tell you, I traveled Archer Road all the time. My grandson lived over off of 20th Avenue. And I tell Brian, I say, Brian, you know, there was nothing but a dirt trail back in my time, you know, traveling Archer Road and Arredondo, you know. You know, you take Archer Road, where it's 4-lane now, and you go to your right, more to the east. That was just one little 2-lane road. It wasn't no 4-lane. And my son often talk about it. Daddy, where this road ends? I said, son, you know where 16? I said, well, he went up to Sands. And I said, you didn't have a 16th where you go all the way up to Main Street back then.
It was just the end, right?
Yeah, just the end there, but they don't know that. See, you don't know. You just don't know. But in the study, if you go to the library, you could study a lot of this stuff, you know. It's there for you, but you got to study up on it. And I think that's what's missing, you know. They go to school, but sometimes the overcrowded classrooms, you're not getting the education or taught. They're not taught like I would. You have 5 or 6 in a class, 10 in a class. Now you're going to school about 40 and 50 in a class. That's too big a class. Too many students in one class. You need to reduce that size of the class.
We've talked about the past, we've talked about the present. I'd like to move us toward the future as we conclude the interview.
Right.
And ask you, what is the most pressing problem facing this country, and how would you solve it, looking to the future?
Well, I take the economic part of it. That's what we are faced with nowadays. And if I could go back, you know, and look at the time I was born and the time I grew up, you know, I would say that I don't see how they making it. you know, because they're really pressed. And nowadays, in 2009, even in the 90s, you know, as time started, the economic conditions began to make a big change, and it's still changing. You don't know what the future gonna bring, so you don't know what tomorrow gonna be. So you live in the day. You know, tomorrow not promised to you, what I'm saying. And I like to see a great change, you know, in government, you know, what they can do, local government, state government, city government, whatever government may be. And I believe that would answer our question. You know, a lot of people need to all come together as one. You can solve these problems, not pull them apart.
What about families, though? And what about how the families of the future will resolve some of these issues, whether they're economic or whether they're social? Government can only do so much. Well,
I think you should be more self-sufficient because they help yourself more. Because see, the government will only give you so much to work with. Say, Mr. Dell, I only got $500 to give you this month. They say you got to earn the rest. You could be more self-sufficient. Get out and work. Don't stand out there every time you go in the store. Somebody stand there begging you for $1 because they want to buy a bottle of wine or whatever. You know, I can see a man or a young lady out there, somebody hungry, and that kind of get to me, you know, when you need food to eat. But somebody just standing there, continue begging each day. Look at the community plaza downtown. That tells you then the homeless people. That's a burden on me. You see those people there, you know, laying around all day. They're not doing anything, just wasting their life away. Some of them able-bodied people can work. Because I walked through that plaza, because I remember that plaza wasn't there. The time I grew up, there was all stores downtown. And you look at it nowadays, look what they've done to the plaza. I think they need to clean up their act, get them, put them in a homeless place, you know, in a home, build a place for them. There's a building sat there on University Avenue for years. You could have taken those houses and built them and put them in those homes, you know. Now let them stay out in the plaza like they are. Freezing weather, cold, hot weather, on extreme conditions, they're still there. And we go around the courthouse, civil courthouse, my men that do lawn maintenance, they're laying all behind the AC unit, sleeping. And you never know, you know. I seen somebody wrapped up in a blanket there when I know it was freezing that morning, 32 degrees or below. Yeah, in extreme condition, they're still there trying to make it though. I tell you, time, you know, have changed since I was a boy. At least we could go in a house and you go inside and have a place to stay. You don't have to sleep out on the street. Well, the population too, with a big booming population, that's what makes it today, why so many people out. And people coming in here, traveling in from other places, other cities, whatever. Migrant workers, they come here a lot, and you know where they all walks of life, people, they come in here into the county and the city. And the city got so big, you know, grandmother said, boy, you got too big for your britches. And I think that's what Gainesville is, the county, they've gotten too big, you know, and they can't handle this load of people. And I thank God, you know, I hope blessed that county could grow up and maybe tell us the story, you know, why, each day, why we supporting people, you know, we can't handle this load. You have too many people out there doing without, you know. Some of them can better themselves, some of them can't. And that's where you need help, you know. But it's a blessing, you know, for people, you know, that can make it in life. And you kind of think about the time, you know, when you was a little boy growing up and say, I asked my mom, I said, Mama, why he out there walking with a stick? I said, son, he have a disability. And we do have people that are disabled, you know. I aimed at my son because he's disabled. I never thought, you know, my family member would be like that, like my stepfather was. He was stroke-ridden, and I had my own son be ridden with a stroke, and I said, well, I can accept that now, you know. I grew up with my stepfather, and he encouraged me to go on anyway, work, stay in school. No matter what the condition may be, stay in school. He said, don't let nobody tell you different.
Mr. Joseph Samuel Dell, married 39 years, 3 children,
yes, sir.
In Alachua County for 42 years, 3 months, and educated by Mr. McPherson and Mr. Jones. I want to thank you so much for this interview today.
Thank you.
And we'd like to conclude the interviews, at least it's my style, to thank you so much. And let's make an appointment to try to do this again in a couple of years.
That'll be fine.
And
that'll
also
be fine.
to just end the interview in your words. So if there's anything that has impressed you, or how you feel about the interview, or just whatever you'd like to do to wrap it up, these are going to be my last comments. And when you conclude your closing thoughts, that'll be the conclusion of the interview.
All I want to say to each and one of you, and thank you for coming, and God bless each and every one of us today. Without God, we can't survive. I highly believe in my faith, and I believe we can make it by pulling together. What the old saying, you pull together, you'll make it, divided, you'll fall. And I believe in that slogan. And I appreciate y'all, appreciate this interview. I never had this type of interview, I've seen them done, but I never had the privilege of having them done to me, I appreciate this, each and every one of you. Thank you.